So hi all and welcome back to my channel. This video is a little bit interesting, I think, because it's a comparison between the model I made back in 2013. I think could also be 2014 or something like that, about the Porsche RSR, the racer based on the 991 model. And this was actually a model that I converted from. It was a huge conversion, one of my best, I think, because the body was really spotted, and it was a conversion from a die cast. Of the original die cast, you just keep the central part of the body, because all the rest, the front bonnet is different, all the body became completely different, much more wider, the wheels and everything. And this was one of my first attempts to create a body of a very famous Porsche racer. I just didn't have at the time the possibility to cast this model in resin because I didn't have still the production like I have today, and it had been finished with a slot fabric decal. I had some little minor issues, like after so many years, like in the front of that right now have to be retouched, because the decal break up. Probably for the glossy here I used I think it was the zero paint gloss. I still didn't get in touch very well at the time with the Gunze gloss, that is much better than any other product I've ever used. I'm referring to the GX100 from Gunze, the best ever for me. And here instead I still was using that old product, so probably that was the reason why in some points the decal have been damaged. This should be really correct and fixed, but the model is start to be a little bit old, so probably in a short time we need a little refurbishment. Let's just concentrate on the body of this Porsche. It was extremely interesting, because it was one of the very first racer still keeping the body of the newest model of the 911. The plastic production of 911 arrived until the 997, and I made two model and the production in resin of the body of the GT3R from 2014, and this instead was completely different, because the car is really completely different. Just recently, let's keep it apart a little bit. Just recently, I think 3 or 4 years ago, Scale Auto, Spanish producer of a slot car, made this nice model 1/24 scale of the same car, that is the RSR, made finally in plastic without making such huge conversion, and Scale Auto is a Spanish manufacturer. They work in an excellent way. The plastics are extremely well done, and for the standard of slot car models, so there is always some minor detail that you have to check because they don't have anyway the detail of a Tamiya kit or latest Aoshima kit and so on. Car is extremely interesting. They used a huge packaging for this one. The first one that they used to produce was just a blister of the body, placed inside like something in plastic like this, and just that, with a little bag inside. Instead, now they became much more professional. I used to place a little tape under here because my body was anyway kind of wrapped, when it arrived. You see they place inside the bodies these long pins that are made to be fixed under the racing chassis of the slot car. Basically the slots have just the external shell that is the shape that you want to have, and inside there is just the engine and the mechanics. So half of the hub is completely closed with the black plastic, that is that one, and with other details to make it really look nice from far away, but when you go near you see that the car is closed because all the under parts is the functioning mechanical of the slot racer. The body itself is quite decent. I'm happy because if we compare the two bodies that I created, without any proper documentation. I made this model when the car was racing, so I could not have the real documentation from the factory. But here it is. You see the windshield is basically the same. The front fence that there I have to scratch build is basically the same. The front end is a little bit longer here. I didn't check, if I made it correct or wrong. There is of course some other differences. For example, the overall part of the front bonnet is slightly different, and I think is a little better spotted in in the die-cast model, in the original die-cast model, while the width of the model is nearly taken, you see, as well as the wheelbase is the same, so I worked in the proper way. Sometimes the slot cars have compromises for the wheelbase because they need to be placed over racing chassis, so sometimes the chassis is fixed as a distance between the two side wheels, you know. And of course this is an easy way to do a racer, you know. Now it seems that Nunu Platz announced this model in 24 scale like a proper model kit, so you don't need this model any longer. This was something that you can find around 50 euros, something like that, you know, because anyway the box was quite huge, so they need a proper expedition of the item. They cannot make a small blister. Probably the only remarkable mistaken difference that I found between my body and the one made by Scale Auto is that basically if you see the line around the windows is not so identical like in the two models, and I think also that probably the Wally diecast model is spotted a little better than the Spanish model, you know. So looking at this corner, you see, it seems much better in the original diecast, you know. And of course in my model the air intake, the side air intake is just a decal, you know. Instead here is a proper panel line engraved with a little detail inside, so it's much more detailed, much more easy. It's a plastic model, you know. It's not metal. That is metal and plastic plus putty and filler and whatever, you know. Also the rear vents are quite a little bit different, you know. Here I don't remember if I did correct that or it was not. I remember that I had to make a duck tail that was not present on the original model. And let's see from the back, but you see they are extremely similar, so I think I made anyway a good job for that years, you know, to convert that model. So also the rear frame is a little bit different, you see, a little bigger in the slot racer model, you know. We have to check carefully with the blueprints who made the best. I think of course they have developed the model later than me and probably with different skills, so probably they made it better than me. And let's have a look inside this one. As I said, I don't think today there is any longer the needing to search for this model, basically because you will find quite soon a proper model made in plastic. But anyway, they provide this bag, typical from the racers, you know, that is the transparent. Thanks God they place it inside some plastic to avoid any scratch over that. There is no decal of course provided in this, so also here I should take some aftermarket decal. This is an RSR, so it will not be a GT3R. I took this model in the beginning with the idea to convert it into a GT3R because the main body was anyway coming from a 991 and not a 997, you know, in plastic. And of course it's much more easy to work over a proper plastic model kit instead of a die cast, you know. The thickness and the material is much better when we are talking about quality plastic, because this is made for racing, so it is very resistant and is very well done, you know. Of course the details of the front light are made for also here for a slot racer, so you cannot expect so many details. They basically have to be just painted very well and applied decal. I think surely they also provide already painted carrosserie bodies and already tampograph decal sheet over them, you know. And many people make a mistake to mismatch the RSR with the GT3R, you know. You spot them immediately because you just look at the front fenders. When you see the huge air intake over here, it means that it is GT3R. Instead the RSR, they are usually the more powerful car, you know, bigger category and the more powerful model of course, and they don't have any events over here, and usually they are the official cars. They made Le Mans several times, but they are quite famous, you know, because they were really the official cars. Also in the latest evolution, I think it was 2018, because this is referred to the model racing in 2013, so it was the very early RSR. Instead the latest RSR start to have a different part under here. If you look at the Pink Pig model that I made, even I think it was from Fola, from a Slow Fabric model, you know, it was a carbon fiber body, quite more complicated to work than this. but it was once again the only way to have a proper RSR before this model arrived on the market, you know, and it was referred anyway to a 2018 car, so slightly different and many modifications, even if the main body of the car remained anyway the same, you know. Uh, just to finish, inside the bag here you find a little photo etched part. This is always very interesting because this company always provide a small, quite finely detailed photo etched. It's always a pleasure to deal with them. And the wing is properly done. Of course, they always remember that we are talking of a slot car, so this is cars that are meant to be raced and used a lot, you know, they have to move, so they have to crash. There is a basic roll cage inside, if you can see it from there, you see, and everything is starting from, like we said, from the black part that is used to close the under mechanical part. There is also part of the dashboard, so it's a wonderful base, I think, to start a proper conversation. Or usually as a base under here you can always have probably a 997 wheelbase, or you can also just scratch build the hub inside and make it by your own, you know. That would be a great idea. I think I have something in racing for racers 996 or 997. They were quite similar in the disposition of the inner hub, you know, and that's it. I think the model is absolutely worth it, you know. If you don't have the volunteer to wait for the proper model kit, you know, Nunu Plus announced the model, I think now 3 years ago, and they never arrived on the market. I hope that this 2023 will be the proper and the good year for this new model, but it's absolutely worth it. I mean, also Scalauto makes excellent models, so it's absolutely interesting also just to take this one and finishing in the livery that you prefer. You know, I already made that official 911 for the anniversary of Porsche at Le Mans. I will make this one in another different livery, and I already made a pink pig, so I already made 3 RSR. You know, this I don't think now I will go further with the conversion for the GT3R, because I see that there is another company by some Asiatic guys that made incredibly nicely detailed GT3R available on the market. So if you want, just check at their company and search it for them. I see in the finished model they are pro builders, so they are incredibly skilled. So the model is absolutely stunning, made from them. I think I will finish this like an ordinary third RSR, maybe with some special livery, something nice, you know, because these are the official Porsches, so I love them. That's it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next.